Greetings, it's the New York Thrifter here, and if anybody was wondering where I've been, I just got back from a thrifting road trip. So what happened is my husband went away on business, and my son, who was about to turn 7, doesn't start school for another 2 weeks. So I decided to pack my little guy up in the car and drive around all of the East Coast and seeing different things, including the eclipse that happened. And while we were on the trip, my goal was to pay for everything through money that I earned by selling clothes to different stores that we hit. So I went to the bins all across the East Coast, tons of them, the Goodwill outlets. I purchased clothing, and then I took them to places like Plato's Closet, Uptown Cheapskate, Buffalo Exchange, Once Upon a Child, and other places to turn them in for cash. So during the next couple of videos, I'm going to take you with me on the road trip to show you the places we visited, including all of the Goodwill outlets, all of the different stores that I sold to. And so I hope you enjoy this first footage that you're watching. I'm driving through New Jersey to get to our first stop, which is a Bins in Pennsylvania. But before we start at that Bins, I have one other one to show you. Here is the Goodwill outlet in Queens, New York. It is one of my favorite places to shop. I've shown you this outlet before, but the reason that I went here about a day before I left on my road trip was because I wanted to take clothes with me that I knew would be sellable. I ended up spending about 2.5 hours at this Bins. I purchased 56 pounds worth of clothing at $1.29 a pound. That's about $73 worth of clothes. So after I purchased everything, I took it home. I cut off all the tags. I got it all prepared. I washed everything, and I put all the clothes in big containers that I was able to take with me on my road trip. So this is what my car looked like before heading off on the road trip. All the clothes folded neatly and put in these plastic containers, ready for taking into the different stores that I was reselling. And something else that I did just to keep track of what these stores were taking was I wrote lists for each of these containers, which store I was going to try to sell it at, each of the items that were in the container, as well as how many pounds total. Now, with 7 containers full of clothes at between 14 and a half and about 23 pounds a piece, this is a lot more than the 56 pounds that I purchased at the Goodwill outlet. In fact, I had about 111 pounds worth of clothes. What I did is, after I washed all the clothes I got from the outlet and actually discarded a few pounds just because, holes or general wear that I didn't see while I was at the outlet, I went through my death piles and I really made an effort to see the things that I felt would do really well reselling at these different stores, and things that I didn't think I would get as much of a return on Poshmark and eBay, things that were in the death pile because I just didn't see them moving very quickly online or for enough of a profit. So with the 111 pounds of clothes, one tiny person strapped in the back seat, I hopped in the car and we left at about 7:30 in the morning and drove straight through to hit our first Goodwill in Pennsylvania. Here we are in Montgomeryville, and I wasn't exactly sure what to expect because it is a bit smaller of a town. Now, there is a Goodwill attached to the outlet center, but I only went to the outlet center. And when I got there, there was lots of bins full of hard goods and books, lots of bins full of shoes. Less than half of this small space was dedicated towards clothing. And so it was a little nerve-wracking. I didn't think that I would find a lot, but I was very pleasantly surprised. I found some really awesome brands. I'm going to go through those in a second. And I did really, really well on the clothing front. I feel that if you live in the area and you want it to be either a part-time reseller, or maybe even a full-time reseller, you would be able to do that in with this bins. And the reason for that is everything was just so full. Now, they didn't change out the bins very often, but as you can see, there's really just a plethora of clothing to go through, and they do change them at least once a day, if not a couple times a day. I definitely think that this bins is worth a reseller's time. So let's see what I got. First up is these Skechers Shape Ups. All shoes were $2.75, and these were very clean, so I decided to grab them. I'm probably not going to sell those on this road trip, but instead on eBay. I did purchase two purses. This first one is a full leather black Aldo bag, and it was in really great shape. The second one is a very small purse by Nine and Co. Neither of these are going to be sold on the road trip, but instead I'm going to be sending them to ThredUp. Now on to the clothes. A Hollister sweater for boys, a pair of jeans. These are going to be True Religion. They were in great shape, no holes or anything wrong with them. Everything worked perfectly. A little summer top by Kira with lots of floral details on it, something I normally wouldn't pick up, but I figured it would go well at like a Plato's Closet or a Buffalo Exchange. This is a vintage piece. It is a Zelda floral dress. Really, really gorgeous. I figured this would be great for an Etsy shop. Next up, I got some kids clothes. This is a Baby Gap. Whenever I saw Baby Gap, I always grabbed it knowing that it does really well at Once Upon a Child. Here is a Jumping Beans sweater with a winter motif on it and the snowflakes. An RVCA sweater for men. I got this to sell on eBay. This is a streetwear company that does well online, so I was able to grab that. Next up is another vintage piece. It is just a in tune, so I guess maybe bandwear or something, but it did have really great print on it. So I figured, why not? Another piece of vintage Q fashions made in the US. And this is almost could be sold as a wedding dress, kind of a vintage wedding dress. So I did grab that. Some more kids' clothes. This is a velvet skirt from Land's End. Velvet tends to do really well, especially moving into the winter months and the holidays. This was a really beautiful loft skirt. It looked brand new. It was in such good shape, so I made sure to grab it. Very bright pink. Here is a New York & Company, and I like this because it had stripes on it and metallic, and so I thought with the metallic threads running through, that gave it a little something extra. Here's another vintage piece. Now you're noticing I'm getting quite a bit of vintage. This is to sell online. There is one shop that will take vintage for cash, and that's Buffalo Exchange. At least one in the areas I was going to, but I decided that I wanted to save these for online instead. Here's a beautiful Ann Taylor knit skirt with a very wide waistband. I thought that was going to do really well. Here's a little romper or jumper for kids by Carter's, another one of those brands that is just a really solid children's brand. This piece is just an H&M, nothing spectacular except for the interesting neckline, and it was gold metallic. So again, that is something that the stores were looking for. A children's boys Crazy 8 t-shirt, perfect for going into the fall months, going back to school. Here is another t-shirt for boys. This is a large, extra, extra large Gap Kids. So I made sure to grab it. Next up is a little tiny dress for a little lady, Old Navy. And it just had some great ruffles on it. And it looks a little faded here, but it wasn't. It was actually in very good shape. Here's another piece of kids' clothing. I really liked that it had the hoodie on it along with little heart sequence details. Lots of kids' clothes. I didn't go in with any kids' clothes, so I wanted to make sure to really load up on them. This is a Vivian Tam, and it has really interesting ruching on both the shoulder as well as the hip. I got some children's jeans here. And even though they had writing on the tag, that doesn't matter so much when you're reselling it. I found that they take them either way. Here's a little dress for girls, maybe wear with some leggings on it with some metallic hearts. This is a plus size top from Talbot's in an 18W, and Talbot's does really well online. I wasn't really selling plus size pieces, and so the plus size I'm probably going to be selling online. This is a kimchi blue dress. It is definitely made for the summer, so I got it anyway. It was probably 40 cents. This is a boys Ralph Lauren polo shirt, size medium with stripes on it, and it does have the logo on it, so I grabbed that. Next up is a swimsuit. This is a plus size swimsuit. I got this not to trade in, but actually to sell online. It's a Catalina, which does very well reselling on eBay. This is a loft skirt with some eyelet. They're kind of lace at the bottom. I grabbed that. Another little girl's tunic top. I think this is Tucker and Tate, and really pretty color with a medallion pattern and ruffles there at the bottom. This is another vintage piece, velvet and with metallic detailing. It's an R&K Evening, which is by R&K Originals, a brand that goes back all the way to the 30s. This one looks to be more like maybe an 80s piece or something. These are a pair of joggers for little men, Oshkosh, really great brand to buy. Here is a hoodie sweatshirt, again for a child. Hollywood Jean People. I've never heard of that, but I figured it's in great shape, so you can't really go wrong. Really like this bug sweater. It's an H&M for children's line. These don't really go for very much online, but again, we're reselling this time to Once Upon a Child. Here is another vintage dress. You could say I kind of hit the vintage jackpot here at the store. I spent a lot of money, a lot of the money getting these old dresses, which are going to go onto Etsy eventually. And as you can see, I did grab the belt with that, which is, I really like having the belt as an accessory. Here is just a really great Candy's children's skirt. All the sequence was intact. It was in great shape. Here's another children's dress. This time it's a Camilla, kind of summery, but it was long, so you could definitely, wear it to school comfortably. This is a Cherokee skirt for a little girl. Lots of different sequins on it. And these pieces are so light, they probably cost me, 20 cents a piece. This next pair is a Gap body pajamas with zebras on it, and it was in my size, so I actually ended up grabbing that for me. I needed a new pair of pajamas. I'm not going to be keeping these pajamas. These are Victoria's Secret, and it's kind of a flannel nightshirt, and pink color with some silver in it, so I definitely made sure to grab that. This is a children's Gap hoodie. And these do rather well both online as well as reselling for cash at stores. So I made sure to grab that. This next one is a Hollister sweater that I ended up donating to the next bins on the trip because it did have a smell to it that I didn't notice when I was in the store. This is a children's justice sweater, and it has some sequence there on the floral detail that I thought was really pretty, so I made sure to grab that. Also, I found this Chico's jacket, and I'm going to end up selling this online. I can get more money, and Chico's is not really a brand that's resellable at a lot of these cash for clothes places like Buffalo Exchange or Plato's Closet because they're marketed towards a bit more mature crowd. This next one is a swim shirt I got for my little guy with an octopus on it, so we're going to be keeping that one. And here we have a Lane Bryant plus size blazer, again with the plus size. I'm going to end up bringing these home and selling them online. Finally, for the absolute best find of this bins, this is a Burberry raincoat it has some floss to it, but I mean, I'm getting this for $1.44 a pound. So there is a little pull on that button. I did find that there was a little bit of fading. If you look at it, you'll see that there by the collar, there's a little bit of fading, and then there is a tiny stain on it right there that I found that I'm not sure whether I'm going to be able to get out or not. But I figure, for literally a couple of dollars, maybe $3 or $4, it's a Burberry raincoat, and there was no way I was going to leave it behind. While we were still in Montgomeryville, Pennsylvania, I saw that they had a Plato's Closet. So I dragged a couple of my bins in. Here you see the buyer at Plato's Closets. Plato's are pretty much a national chain. They're all independently owned, but they all are connected in the same branding and general pricing. And so I figured, hey, let's see if I can make some money. And I turned in some clothes and I was given $129.37 in cash. After we got done with reselling, we drove to the Indian Echo Caverns in Hummelstown, and we had a really great time. This is a place where you can actually get a tour guide to where they take you underground, where you can see all the different formations, stalactites and stalagmites, in these giant caves. And my little guy loves rock collecting, and he loves exploration. And so this was like the perfect, middle of our day where we were able to eat lunch and walk by the river and also see just these gigantic natural formations, something we've never done before. We spent about $28 at the caverns buying tickets to get in and also a book all about how these were formed. After a little bit more driving, we ended up in Camp Hill, where there was another outlet center. So we got here kind of a little bit later in the day. They were getting ready to close down quite soon. I did end up spending just under an hour here, and I was able to get, a half a cart full. And so this, again, was a pretty successful trip. Now, if you're looking around this store, you can see it is massive. It is one of the largest outlet centers that I have ever been in, and the bins are just absolutely overflowing. It wasn't very busy. That could be because it was the end of the day, or, this is not a large metropolitan area, so it might be that this just happens to be a Goodwill bins that doesn't have a lot of resellers. Now, I wasn't able to get really big name brands, but for some bread and butter stuff, this outlet really did have quite a selection. So let's see what I got. First up is just a very common Nike t-shirt with the logo and some striping on the arms. This is a Lululemon. As soon as I saw the tag was cut out, I immediately started looking for the logo, and I found it right there on the hemline, so that was a really great find. Got a kids shirt here, just a star on the front. Figured that would be an easy turnaround. This is a J. Jill tunic top, which does very well. I'm going to be selling that online. Another Nike piece, this time a woman's tank, and it is a size large in really, really good shape. This next piece is going to be some leggings from American Eagle with some metallic running through them. Very, very inexpensive, very lightweight. Got this dress. This was probably my favorite piece that I grabbed. This is New Romantics, and people that are in the know this is a Free People brand. It's right there up on top. You can see in little letters, Free People. It's got a pretty knit design and some faux leather on the back, and so I'm going to end up selling that online. This is a Jessica Simpson brand dress, just a black lace dress that's going to be sold to one of the stores. Another kids piece, just a really easy onesie. This is a little girl's dress It is a Gap Kids size small, and it is a beautiful blue color. Here is some more vintage for my vintage lovers out there. And, really old tag. It didn't have a brand on it, but look at that print. Birds on the bottom and all sorts of details. Really great. Here is a shirt. It's a cable and gauge, and it's got embellishments and sequins all over the front. All of those faux jewels are in place. Here is a pair of Gap pants, and these are insulated, so they're definitely more for the winter. This is a Maggie Barnes 3X sheer blouse. And again, I'm going to be selling these plus sizes online. They do really well for me online, so I'm going to bring that one home. Another blouse here. This time it's just a Woman's New York & Co. Something really easy to wear, black and button up, and really great condition. It also had a tie around the neck, which tends to be pretty popular. This is Vintage Havana. It's a teen sweatshirt, and it's got all sorts of sequins and kind of an Aztec design on the sleeves. A little girl's Disney dress. It's got a Mickey Mouse motif there on the front with a cute little bow. Here is a skirt. This is a girl's skirt from Gap. It is an extra, extra large, and it has floral design and some embroidery, so I knew that was going to go over well. A little onesie. Again, all of these kids' clothes I'm going to turn into Once Upon a Child for cash on the spot. So I just grabbed all these little pieces. Here is a little kid's pair of black jeans. This is a Gap Kids size 7 in really great condition. No obvious signs of wear. Here is a blazer, and this is a Gibson blazer. And I ended up discarding this because I found a hole in the back that I actually didn't see when I first got it. So that was tossed. And then these are new with tags, 3 pairs of jeans, Articles of Society. And I wasn't really familiar with the brand, but I figured, hey, I'm just reselling at these places. I might as well give it a shot. I'm going to do a cut to cut the price tag off, so you'll be able to see that they are new with tags, but you won't see that $29 on it. And here we are at the end of our day, a very short drive to get to Harrisburg, where we are going to stay the night in a hotel and have dinner at Burger Yum. I've actually heard great things about this burger place, and my little guy, it's his favorite meal. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through everything that we spent for the day, along with everything that we made from reselling, and we'll see how successful we were on paying for our trip in just a moment. So here is the accounting for day 1 of my road trip. At the Goodwill outlet in Queens, I spent $72.24. Now, technically, while I spent this money before the road trip began, these are all the clothes that I put in the back of the car for reselling. So I'm going to count it in the cost. Now, at the second Goodwill outlet I went to, Montgomery, Pennsylvania, I spent $29.27. Then I finally made some money when I went to Plato's Closet in the same town of Montgomeryville. I made $129.37 by selling clothes to the store, only to turn around, go to another Goodwill outlet, at this time at Camp Hill, and spend $19.04. Dinner at Burger Yum cost around $21. We did not pay for breakfast or lunch. Breakfast we had at home, and lunch I packed a picnic. And then I also want to include tolls in this total, because we did end up spending about $11 getting through the state of New Jersey and into Pennsylvania. So where does that leave me? About $23.18 in the hole. So day 1 of my thrifting road trip did not necessarily go as planned, but man, did I have a great time seeing those outlets and spending time with my kid. Stay tuned for the next leg of our adventure, where we go to more Goodwill outlets, we sell to even more stores, and we end up in Washington, D.C. and the Smithsonian Museum.